Hey guys, welcome to the channel, and today we're going to be talking about something very different to martial arts. We're going to be talking about something called the moral zeitgeist. Booyah! So as always, hope you're all doing well and you're enjoying the last little bit of summer before we get into autumn and beyond. Christmas is just around the corner, joy. But anyway, that's not important. What is important is that we're going to be talking about the moral zeitgeist. So this is a concept that you get in psychology, you get it in sociology, you get it in the combination of sociology and psychology, social psychology, as well as you also get in politics as well. You get it in cultural relativism. It's quite a common concept, the moral zeitgeist, but it's not very well discussed, I find, from my experience. But it's so important because what is the moral zeitgeist? Essentially, that is when you're judging a period of history on a moral basis based on the morals of today. It's not as complex as it sounds. It's actually quite straightforward. As an example, let's say go back to the Roman times, and slavery was around in the Roman times. The Romans engaged in slavery. At the time, that was considered just the modus operandi of how society worked. People were like, oh, slavery, it's just part of life. Whereas in this day and age now, we are not engaged in slavery, or are certainly in, I hasten to use the word civilized world, but generally most cultures do not engage in slavery now. Of course, you're going to get a few cultures which still do engage in slavery, or have only recently abolished slavery. But for the most part, slavery isn't a thing that we do today. Whenever we do encounter slavery today, it is very much the exception rather than the rule. Whereas back in Roman times, slavery was the rule, and if you got a society which didn't engage in slavery, that was the exception to the rule. So moral zeitgeist in this situation would say, we can look back, hindsight's a wonderful thing, and we tend to look back on history of rose-tinted spectacles of today, and we can judge history based on the morals we have today. So for instance, in this case, we can look back at the Romans with their slavery, and we can say the Romans were horrible because they engaged in slavery. And yes, most people would agree slavery is abhorrent. It's immoral, it's unethical. You could describe it in any way you like negatively, because it is generally an immoral practice. But that being said, what we have done is basically take the values that we have today as a society, and we've applied those morals onto a society in the past, in this case the Romans, ignoring the fact that society was very different then. It was based on different values. It was based on different ideas. It was based on different cultural relativism. It was a very different world back then. So whereas now we can find it easier to look at a society from the past and judge it, just be mindful that actually the life we have here today, 2025, future generations can look back on 2025 and say they were so barbaric back in the 2020s. You could say go ahead 200-300 years and you'll get historians, you'll get scholars, you'll get philosophers, you'll get conscientious objectors, you'll get moralists who will look back on 2025 and be like, my God, did they really do that in 2025? That's horrific. How can anybody stand that practice? Whereas what you have to consider, what we are doing now in 2025, the way that we live generally, people will generally say that we have the best standard of living at the moment. And I know that's a generalization to say that because, of course, life's not perfect, and regardless of how good your life is going to be, or how good, subjective, your society is going to be, there are always going to be flaws. However, many people say that the life that we have now in 2025 is vastly superior to what we have had in any period of history throughout the world. We have hot water, for a start. We have electricity, we have internet connections. We're not worried about having to go out and hunt for our food. We go to supermarkets for that. We have automobiles. The list goes on. But generally, would you rather live 2025 or would you rather live in, say, the year 1185? Most people would say they prefer to live in 2025 because the society we have now is much more technologically superior. but also as well morally and intellectually more aware, I would say. But go ahead a few hundred years from now, things will change, because change is part of life. It's transient. Life is always evolving or moving. It's always fluid. And they're going to find out things in the future that we don't know today, and attitudes will change, discourse will change, societal values will change, and people, say 200-300 years from now, will be born into those societies with those values and understandings and that knowledge in place, which we don't have today. So that is the moral zeitgeist. Judging a past society based on the standards of today. Just remember that next time you look down in history and think, oh, it was so barbaric. We are history. In a few hundred years, people are going to look at us and think that we're barbaric. Think about it. I'm Sam from Gemini-tkd. Keep listening to Pantera, because they're the best band around, and I'll see you all in the next video. Booyah!